What if I told you that before Florida became theme parks and highways, it was a wild, waterlogged frontier held together by prayer, grit, and wooden planks? These rare photographs don't just show places. They reveal a forgotten Florida, built by settlers, steamboats, and silent faith. From riverside churches to dusty schoolyards, from the earliest railroads to dockside markets, this is not the Florida on postcards. This is the Florida that remembers. By 1900, Miami was rising fast. After the railway reached the area, tents gave way to brick buildings like those on First Avenue shown here. The Royal Palm Hotel opened with 450 rooms, remarkable for a young town. Miami, once a fishing village, was on its way to becoming the Sunshine State's crown jewel. Key West's sponge market. When shipwreck salvaging declined, Key West turned to a new industry, sponge farming. By 1900, docks like this bustled with maritime harvesters unloading Gulf sponges for daily trade. Merchants picked the best and shipped them north, earning Key West a reputation for producing the finest sponges in North America. Indian River Boat Dock. By 1900, steamboat travel along the Indian River had become a daily ritual. This bustling dock was a lifeline, bringing tourists, mail, and supplies to remote settlements. Dressed in their finest, passengers waited eagerly to board, as Florida's waterways remained its most elegant and essential highways. Indianola Social Club. On the banks of the Indian River, the Indianola Social Club gave Merritt Island settlers a rare place to gather, dance, and connect. Built near modern-day Courtney Parkway, this simple wooden hall stood as proof that even in rugged Florida, community mattered as much as survival. Flagler's railway reaches Brevard. By 1900, Henry Flagler's East Coast Railway had reached Brevard. Engine number 98, seen here in motion, symbolized Florida's new era, linking remote towns to ports, hotels, and opportunity. Where once there were hammocks and palmettos, the rhythmic thunder of steel signaled the arrival of progress.
Melbourne's first public school. This modest wooden schoolhouse marked the beginning of public education in Melbourne. In 1898, students gathered here under pine trees and hand-me-down books. With one room, one teacher, and endless curiosity, it was a humble start to something lasting, a belief that knowledge could grow even in wild soil. Melbourne's oldest surviving schoolhouse, now restored and located on the campus of Florida Institute of Technology. Spanish-American War. With Cuba just 90 miles away, Florida became a launch pad during the Spanish-American War. This photo shows the transport ship Rio Grande departing Port Tampa with troops, cavalry, and even a balloon crew for aerial scouting. In just weeks, U.S. forces pushed Spain to surrender, reshaping America's role in the world. The treaty oak. This massive live oak in Jacksonville was already ancient by the time this photo was taken. In the 1930s, a reporter saved it from destruction by inventing a legend that a treaty between Spanish settlers and native tribes was signed beneath its branches. The story was false, but the tree survived. Loading oranges. These men are loading crates of oranges onto a river barge, but this photo was taken during a low point in Florida's citrus industry. Devastating frosts in 1894 and 1895 ruined most groves in central Florida. Many farmers gave up, but others moved south and helped rebuild the industry. Welcome to Miami. In 1896, Miami was just a small fishing village until industrialist Henry Flagler extended his railway south from Palm Beach. With help from landowner Julia Tuttle, the train arrived and everything changed. That first steam engine sparked a boom, turning Miami into one of America's favorite destinations.
A street in Key West. By 1895, Key West was Florida's largest city. Once a sleepy island, it boomed thanks to the wrecking trade, salvaging cargo from ships lost off its coast. This busy street scene captures a rare moment of calm in what had become one of America's most profitable maritime outposts. Steamboat on the Ocklawaha River. The Okiamki was one of many paddle steamers cruising the winding Ocklawaha River. It carried cargo, livestock, and curious tourists, including Ulysses S. Grant and Thomas Edison. With 43 years of service, the steamboat became a floating lifeline for riverside communities and a symbol of Florida's frontier charm. Relaxing on the veranda. The Royal Poinciana Hotel in Palm Beach opened modestly, but soon became a grand escape. With room for 1,000 guests and nearly 5 kilometers of corridors, it offered luxury and leisure. These women enjoyed the shaded veranda, just steps away from orchestras, fishing excursions, and the quiet hum of bicycle messengers. The Old City. St. Augustine, founded in 1565, is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the U.S. This photo shows a house on Francis Street built in the early 1700s, once home to a Canary Islander and artilleryman. By the time this image was taken, the house was already over 150 years old. Teeing off. Golf arrived in Florida thanks to Scottish immigrant John Gillespie, who built a 2-hole course in 1886. The sport quickly caught on. Hotels followed suit, adding small courses for their guests. This Palm Beach driving range paved the way for Florida's first full 18-hole course, opened just 2 years later.
A sweet harvest. Florida's sugarcane industry nearly collapsed in the late 1800s due to harsh frosts, but it rebounded, especially in fields south of Lake Okeechobee. As this 1894 photo shows, harvesting cane was tough, back-breaking work, done entirely by hand long before machines took over the sweet task. Bridge on Alligator Creek. This wooden bridge over Alligator Creek was a lifeline through Florida's swampland wilderness. Captured in 1894, it carried settlers, carts, and hopes across palm-shadowed water. Simple but essential, crossings like this connected isolated families to the broader world, one creaky plank at a time. The Plaza Hotel in Rockledge. Tucked behind moss-draped oaks, the Plaza Hotel in Rockledge was a hidden jewel of Florida's early tourism era. From this quiet rear view, it's hard to imagine the elegant guests and orchestra-filled evenings that once filled its halls. Yet this place helped define Florida's rise as a winter escape. Grace Church on Merritt Island. Built along the river's edge, Grace Episcopal Church stood as a symbol of calm and community in 1890. Surrounded by pine trees and reflected in still waters, it brought faith and structure to Florida's untamed frontier, where steamboats docked, settlers prayed, and the wilderness slowly gave way to permanence. Life-saving. Originally created to rescue shipwrecked sailors, the U.S. Life-Saving Service evolved as Florida's beaches grew crowded with tourists. By 1890, lifesavers patrolled shores like Palm Beach using small boats called dories to reach swimmers in trouble, marking the early days of organized beach rescue in the Sunshine State.
Phosphate miners. In the 1890s, Central Florida became a hub for phosphate mining. This valuable rock, used in fertilizer and animal feed, was found in rich deposits near Ocala. Early mines like this one relied on hard labor, but mechanization soon followed, turning Florida into a major player in the global phosphate trade. Road building. It may look like farming, but these men were building roads, by hand, with horses. Before cars, most roads in Florida were rough paths, prone to flooding and mud. Yet they were vital, linking remote inland towns to the outside world, one rutted mile at a time. Sailing on sand. At Ormond and Daytona Beach, thrill-seekers turned bicycles into wind-powered rides. With sails fixed to custom rigs, these sand sailors let adventurous tourists race across the shoreline.
It was an early taste of extreme sports, right on the soft sands of Florida's growing beach destinations. Taking a dip. At the lavish Hotel Alcazar, guests didn't just dance and dine. They swam in what was then the world's largest indoor swimming pool. More than just Florida's first indoor swimming pool, it was a symbol of luxury and modern leisure for wealthy visitors escaping the cold northern winters. Hotel Alcazar. Industrialist Henry Flagler, co-founder of Standard Oil, built a railroad down Florida's east coast and grand hotels to go with it. The Hotel Alcazar in St. Augustine was a winter escape for the wealthy, offering luxury, sunshine, and one of the first multi-story concrete structures in America. St. Luke's Church on Merritt Island. Standing quietly on Old Courtney Parkway since 1888, St. Luke's Episcopal Church and its cemetery remain intact today. Surrounded by wild Florida growth, this humble structure became a place of worship and remembrance for generations of settlers carving out life on Merritt Island. St. Mark's Episcopal Church. Built in 1886, St. Mark's Episcopal Church still stands in Cocoa Village today. Its wooden frame and Gothic-style windows echo a time when faith anchored Florida's early communities, offering comfort, tradition, and a gathering place in an otherwise untamed landscape. Paddle steamers and railroads. By 1886, Silver Springs was booming. Steamboats packed with tourists raced for profit, until the railroad brought even more visitors. Competing guides invented a clever twist, a pane of glass in the bottom of a rowboat. It was the world's first glass-bottom tour, offering a glimpse beneath the surface. Palatka. In the late 1800s, Palatka rivaled Jacksonville as a major river port, with 7 steamboat lines serving local plantations. But a massive fire soon devastated its downtown. This photo, capturing an ox cart driver on bustling streets, marks the end of an era before trade shifted south to Jacksonville.
Jacksonville cityscape. By 1885, Jacksonville had grown into a winter haven for nearly 70,000 people, many escaping the cold northern states. Once home to Timucua tribes, then French, Spanish, and British settlers, the city was renamed after Andrew Jackson and became a key stop in Florida's evolving story of growth and migration. Florida's first black school. In Jacksonville, Florida's first school for black children opened in 1869, named after abolitionist Edwin M. Stanton. After 2 fires destroyed earlier buildings, this photo shows the second version, rebuilt in 1882. It stood as a symbol of resilience until a permanent fireproof school was finally built in 1917. Harriet Beecher Stowe. Decades after Uncle Tom's Cabin shook the nation, author Harriet Beecher Stowe settled in a quiet home near Jacksonville. She spent summers here after the Civil War, claiming she never felt hostility from locals. Curious admirers often visited, hoping to glimpse the famed writer sitting peacefully on her porch. Jupiter Lighthouse. By the 1880s, Jupiter Lighthouse had already stood watch for over 25 years. Keeper James Armour served for more than 4 decades, witnessing the inlet evolve from a quiet outpost into a vital hub, connecting rail, steamships, and telegraph lines in Florida's growing role on the world stage. Life in log cabins. In remote parts of Florida, settlers built simple one-room log cabins. No nails, no mortar, just grit and skill. Logs were notched to fit, and mud sealed the gaps. These homes were rough, but sturdy, offering warmth, shelter, and a sense of pride in a hard and self-reliant life.
Alligator hunting. In the 1870s, Silver Springs drew crowds not just for its beauty, but for the thrill of alligator hunting. Tourists boarded steamships to shoot gators from the decks, turning the rivers into a deadly safari. Proud hunters often posed with their kills, turning blood sport into souvenir photographs. The birth of tourism.
Before railroads reached Florida, rivers were lifelines. At Silver Springs in Ocklawaha County, merchants moved goods by boat, but the area's wild beauty soon became the real attraction. Stories of crystal-clear waters and exotic wildlife spread fast, turning Silver Springs into Florida's very first tourist destination. Reconstructing Florida. After the Civil War, Florida underwent major changes. Formerly enslaved people were now free. Some stayed to work for their old masters, while others left in search of a new life. This image captures a moment of transition, where hope and hardship walked side by side in the Reconstruction South. Jacksonville Signal Tower. By 1864, Florida was under Union control, but danger still lurked. This 100-foot signal tower near Jacksonville relayed messages to the coast. If Confederate snipers opened fire, the men could retreat to a small shelter just below the top, holding position until reinforcements arrived. Confederate volunteers. This rare 1861 photo shows some of the Florida's earliest Confederate volunteers. Lacking official uniforms or weapons, many brought what they could from home. Over 15,000 Floridians would fight for the South, and these men from Pensacola's Navy Yard were among the very first to enlist.
They didn't know they were building history. They were just trying to survive, worship, teach their children, and reach the next town before sundown. But in doing so, plank by plank, sermon by sermon, crop by crop, they laid the quiet foundation of modern Florida. These images aren't just windows into the past. They're mirrors showing us what resilience, hope, and humble beginnings truly look like. And in the silence of these photos, Florida still speaks.